At sunrise, the sky was painted orange and pink, and many people were gathering around Mount Golgotha. There, on arid soil, stood the cross where Jesus would be crucified. A centurion, a leader of the Roman soldiers, watched attentively as they prepared to carry out the execution. What happened next would change the lives of everyone there forever. A strong earthquake shook the ground, making everyone feel as if they were on the edge of an abyss. The sun, which had just risen, seemed to hide, casting everything under a dark shadow. The rocks around cracked with a deafening noise. The centurion, accustomed to scenes of war and violence, felt a shiver. He had never witnessed something so impressive. Looking at Jesus on the cross, he felt a mix of respect and admiration, and then recognized, truly this was the Son of God, as it is written in the book of Matthew in the Bible, chapter 27, verse 54. Today we will understand the story of a centurion. We will find out who he was, what his role was, and what happened to him after the crucifixion and death of Jesus Christ. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to stay updated on all our content. In the Roman army, being a centurion was a very important and coveted position, but it was not easy to achieve. It required being brave, having combat skills, a lot of discipline, and being extremely loyal to the empire. The centurion was the commander of a century, a group of about 100 soldiers, and he had total authority over them. As an officer, he was part of a military system that maintained order and law, often resorting to rigorous methods, such as crucifixion. To become a centurion, a soldier needed more than just bravery in combat. It was essential that he demonstrated strategic skills and natural leadership. A centurion had to be an example to his soldiers, encouraging them to follow his orders without question. Discipline and obedience were crucial for him, and he expected the same behavior from his subordinates. In the Roman army, the centurion was respected and feared at the same time, and his qualities of courage and intelligence were highly valued by his superiors. His ability to lead in battle often determined the success or failure of a war. In addition to leading his troops in combat, the centurion was also responsible for maintaining order and discipline during periods of peace. During the crucifixion of Jesus, the Roman soldiers under his command played a crucial role, following orders and ensuring that everything went as planned. Although many of the soldiers were already accustomed to executions and handling condemned individuals, what happened that day was exceptional and deeply disturbing, leaving a lasting mark on their memories as Jesus suffered on the cross. Besides crucifying him, the soldiers also cast lots to decide who would get his clothes, a common practice at the time for the belongings of the executed. The Gospel of John, in chapter 19, verses 23 and 24, reports that after crucifying Jesus, the soldiers took his clothes and divided them into 4 parts, one for each of them. They decided not to tear his tunic, which was made of a single piece of cloth from top to bottom, but instead cast lots to see who would take it. This act fulfilled the scriptures that say, "They divided my clothes among them and cast lots for my tunic," and that is exactly what the soldiers did. Despite being often humiliated and disrespected, Jesus remained calm during his time on earth. He faced many injustices, especially notable during his trial and crucifixion, where he was falsely accused, ridiculed, and assaulted. Jesus' reactions to these adversities not only reinforced his innocence, but also highlighted his divine nature. From his presentation to the high priest and the religious council, he was the target of fabricated accusations. Yet he maintained his calm and dignity. During interrogations and insults, he chose to remain silent, speaking only when absolutely necessary. This tranquility in the face of provocations confused his accusers, who expected an emotional response. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 26, verses 62 to 64, when the high priest pressed him about the accusations, Jesus responded in a way that affirmed his divinity. "You have said so," he declared. And I tell you that soon you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the Almighty and coming on the clouds of heaven." These words not only confirm his mission as the Messiah, but also highlight his heavenly authority. During his trial before Pilate, Jesus faced unjust accusations again, but remained calm and serene. Despite the crowd's cries demanding his crucifixion, he stayed tranquil and did not engage in unnecessary discussions or debates. Even after being flogged, crowned with thorns, and mocked by Roman soldiers, he endured everything with dignity and humility. His silence in the face of violence stood out even more compared to the brutality of his aggressors, demonstrating his inner strength and faith in his Father's will. On the cross, Jesus still expressed compassion and forgiveness, even amidst intense suffering. In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 23, verse 34, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." These words show his ability to forgive even those who crucified him, reflecting his unconditional love for humanity. It is worth noting that the centurion was present, ensuring that the sentence was carried out, while observing everything Jesus did and how he reacted. Meanwhile, unusual events began to occur in nature. A strong earthquake shook the ground, spreading fear among the people. At the same time, a dense darkness covered the environment, darkening the sun and plunging everything into a sinister shadow, even though it was still day. These phenomena were interpreted as divine signs, reflecting the gravity of what was happening at that moment. Furthermore, after the death of Jesus, an even more extraordinary event occurred: the resurrection of saints, as described in the book of Matthew, chapter 27, verses 52 and 53. The tombs opened, and many bodies of saints who had died were brought back to life. After the resurrection of Jesus, these resurrected saints came out of their tombs, entered the holy city, and were seen by several people. This event further reinforced the notion that something truly divine and supernatural was occurring. Even an experienced Roman soldier, accustomed to the harshness of military life, was deeply impacted by the crucifixion of Jesus. That day went far beyond anything he had ever witnessed. It was not just the death of a man. Unusual events, such as an earthquake, a darkness that enveloped the day, and people who had died long ago reappearing, shook his deepest beliefs. All this made him begin to question everything he knew. Looking at Jesus on the cross, he felt something extraordinary, a divine presence he could not fully comprehend, leading him to consider the possibility that Jesus might indeed be the Son of God. Accustomed to much violence and cruelty throughout his career, the centurion found the crucifixion of Jesus to be a completely out-of-the-ordinary event. That day challenged everything he understood about what was possible. As he watched Jesus on the cross, the centurion was deeply marked, murmuring to himself, "Truly this was the Son of God," as he sighed with emotion. He had never seen anything like it. Despite the torture and pain, Jesus displayed a peace and serenity that transcended anything the centurion had ever seen before. Observing all this, the centurion began to think about the words of Jesus. He remembered the unjust accusations, the rushed trial, and the crowd clamoring for Jesus' death. Even in the face of so much suffering, Jesus remained calm, accepting his fate with dignity and compassion. This made the centurion question everything he knew. He had been trained to follow orders without hesitation, but at that moment, he began to doubt everything. The man on the cross was not an ordinary criminal. He was innocent. He was the Son of God. After the crucifixion of Jesus, as people were leaving and the sun was beginning to shine again, the centurion remained still, immersed in his thoughts. He was aware that his life had changed forever after that day. What he witnessed on Mount Golgotha was something he knew would change history and that he would never forget. In a world full of war and violence, he found a glimpse of divinity amid suffering, and this completely transformed his life. Known in Christian tradition as Saint Longinus, the centurion experienced a profound spiritual transformation after witnessing the extraordinary events of the crucifixion. He decided to abandon his old life as a soldier and fully dedicate himself to following Jesus. He set aside earthly power and glory in search of true peace and spiritual meaning. His new journey of faith motivated him to serve and preach the gospel, sharing the transformative love of Christ. Interestingly, the centurion was one of the first non-Jews to recognize and declare the divinity of Jesus, at a time when most of Jesus' followers were Jewish. His testimony is particularly significant because it shows that the message of Jesus transcends ethnic and cultural barriers. The fact that a Roman military leader accepted the gospel also highlights that this message is for everyone, regardless of their social position. Deciding to follow Christ came at a high cost to Longinus. He eventually aroused the anger of the Roman authorities, who saw him as a threat to order and social stability. For this reason, he was subjected to interrogations, threats, and torture, pressured to abandon his faith and stop preaching. According to tradition, Longinus faced brutal martyrdom for his dedication to Jesus Christ. In an extremely cruel manner, he was tortured. His tongue was cut off so he could not speak, and his eyes were removed so he could not see. These tortures aimed not only to cause physical pain, but also to terrorize and severely warn anyone who might think of challenging the authorities or the belief system of the time. Despite facing extreme suffering, Longinus remained steadfast in his faith and devotion to Jesus Christ until the end of his life. His courage and determination in facing persecution inspired many Christians throughout the centuries, strengthening their faith and commitment to the gospel. For this reason, Saint Longinus is considered one of the auxiliary saints, a group of saints that the Roman Catholic Church especially reveres for providing help in difficult times. Over time, devotion to Saint Longinus grew, especially among those seeking help for health problems, particularly vision issues. There is a legend that says Saint Longinus, the centurion, was the Roman soldier in charge of the crucifixion of Jesus at Calvary. Before witnessing the crucifixion, it is said that he had vision problems. However, when he pierced Jesus' side with a spear, as described in the Gospel of John, the blood and water that came out of the wound supposedly touched his eyes, instantly curing his vision. This miracle, along with everything that happened, led Longinus to recognize the divinity of Jesus and convert to Christianity, becoming a faithful follower. Therefore, many people consider St. Longinus the protector of the eyes and seek his help for vision problems. This is based on the legend that he had vision issues until he pierced Jesus' side with a spear. According to the legend, after this act, his vision was miraculously cured. This story has led many to seek the intercession of Saint Longinus for eye health issues. It is important to remember that this part of the story is a tradition in some branches of Christianity, but it is not directly mentioned in the Bible. The story of the centurion reveals the transformative power of an encounter with Jesus. This Roman officer, initially tasked with overseeing the crucifixion, witnessed such extraordinary events that led him to declare that Jesus was, indeed, the Son of God. This recognition was not just a fleeting comment, but the result of a profound experience that touched his heart by divine grace. This crucial moment forever changed the centurion's life, causing him to abandon his previous life and follow the teachings of Jesus, becoming a fervent follower of the gospel. The story of the centurion teaches us that, no matter our past or who we are, the transformative love of Jesus can free us, heal us, and give new meaning to our life. Just as it happened with the centurion, we all can find hope and salvation by accepting the unconditional love of Christ. May the story of the centurion inspire each of us to seek our true identity in Christ and to live in a way that reflects his love and kindness to others. May we, like him, recognize and proclaim that Jesus is indeed the Son of God, and that through him we have access to forgiveness, healing, and eternal life. This was the theme of today's video. I hope it has brought valuable reflections. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and comment where you are watching from. A hug and God bless.